The Little Lost Frog in a Bucket in the Pond. A guided relaxation for children. Before we begin the relaxation, take a moment to get comfortable, either seated or lying down, and take in a big breath. And then blow that breath out. Let all the breath go out of your body. And breathing in again, taking a big breath in. And blow it out through your mouth. Let all the air go out of your mouth. And one more time, taking a big breath. Breathing in. Filling up your stomach, filling it right up, and then blowing that breath away, letting it go. Getting settled into a space. And it's time now to forget everything about what's happened today and just simply enjoy this story. Once upon a time, there was a little frog who lived in a pond. This little frog was a bright, leafy green with a white belly and sticky orange fingers. And although he was little, he was always curious. He liked to go on adventures with his brothers and sisters, and together they would explore the pebbly shore of their pond, play tag in the rushes and grasses, and go for long swims in the summer sun. At the end of every day, they would return home to their very own lily pad, where the mother would serve them a delicious frog dinner, like fly sandwiches and roasted grasshoppers. She would read them a story and tuck them into their beds, where the little frog and his siblings would rest under blankets made of soft leaves. In the spring and summer, the frog family lived in the pond, but when the autumn came and the days got shorter and chillier, they moved to their winter burrow. Together, the frog family would gather up their toys and possessions and hop a little way into the woods, where they had a little underground home amongst roots of an enormous maple tree. Everyone would help sweep out the dust and dead leaves, and then, before the first snowfall of the year, the mother and father would close the door to the burrow, and the family would spend the winter wrapped in cotton fluff coats, telling stories and roasting marshmallows in their little fireplace. Our story begins shortly after all of the snow had melted for the year, and all the ice had thawed off the pond. The frog family had returned to their lily pad on the edge of the pond, and the frog children had already started their summertime adventures in the water and the banks surrounding it. Already this year, they had met a family of minnows that lived under a fallen log on the shallow end of the pond. They had already had plenty of swimming and diving contests, and the little frog had started to lose his greyish winter colour and once again bright green. Every night, he went to sleep exhausted but happy, ready for another day of fun when the sun finally rose. But one morning, he woke up to find he wasn't asleep on his lily pad. Instead, he was trapped inside a red plastic bucket. It was a beautiful day, with birds singing and a squirrel chattering off in a tree. In a few hours, it would be hot and sunny, a perfect day for swimming in the clear water of the pond. But the little frog wouldn't be able to swim, because he was stuck, sitting in the middle of a red plastic bucket, which bobbed and rocked in the water each time the morning breeze brushed its edges. The sun had come up, and the little frog could feel its golden light warming up the plastic sides of the bucket. How could he have gotten here? Perhaps the wind had blown his lily pad bedroom over to the bucket, and he tipped in. Maybe he had sleep hopped into the pail. Whatever had happened, the little frog was here now, and he was trapped. "Mom," the little frog croaked. "Dad, where are you?" Nobody answered. The only sounds were the birds and the soft rustling of the rushes as they blew in the breeze. The little frog croaked again. "Where are you?" he asked, louder and louder, until he heard a faint ribbit off to his right. "We're over here on the edge of the pond," his father croaked. "We can see the red pail floating on the water." "I'm stuck," replied the little frog, and he suddenly felt very sad. "Will I be trapped here forever?" "No," his father croaked back. "You can get out, but we can't help you. You will have to hop out yourself." With this, the little frog felt even sadder. He had always been the smallest of all his siblings. He had never been able to jump the highest, or swim the furthest, or to ribbit the loudest. He was just a little frog, and now he was trapped in this bucket, and nobody could help him. The little frog didn't think he could ever get himself out. From the bottom of the pail, the red sides looked slippery and impossibly tall, more frightening than any of the trees or grasses or rocks that the little frog usually played near. Maybe he would be here forever. His siblings would swim without him, and he would have to catch his own flies and make his own dinner. In the winter he would be trapped here alone, wrapped up in whatever leaves fell into the bucket over the course of the summer. The little frog started to feel frightened. "Mom, Dad," he called. "I don't know how to get out. I'm too little to jump high enough." "You can get out," Father Frog croaked from the edge of the pond, reassuring the little frog. "Your legs are strong, and you can do whatever it takes." And so, with this, the little frog took a deep breath, bunched up his legs, and took the biggest jump he had ever taken in his life. He leapt all the way from the bottom of the bucket to its edge, where the red plastic curled back on itself to form a little lip. He had made it to the top of the bucket. "Look!" cried the little frog. "I jumped out! I did it!" He waved his hands in the air, happy and proud that he had rescued himself from the trap. And that's when, in the excitement of the moment, the little frog lost his balance and went tumbling back into the pail. He was right back where he had started. But the little frog wasn't about to give up. He tried jumping again and again, but he was tired out, and he couldn't muster enough strength to leap out of the bucket. The more he tried, the more tired he got. And then, almost out of nowhere, dark storm clouds appeared in the sky, and it began to rain. The raindrops were big and fat, and they made splattering sounds at the bottom of the pail. Soon the plastic was too slippery for him to grab. "Oh no," thought the little frog, "I'm really trapped here now." And this made him so sad that he sat down and began to cry. Little froggy tears ran down his face and splattered into the puddle of the rainwater at the bottom of the bucket. In the distance, thunder rumbled, loud enough that the little frog could no longer hear his family on the edge of the pond. "I'm going to live here forever," he thought. "I'll be stuck in this pail for years." And he felt even more sad. The rain started to fall harder, fat droplets plunking into the bucket. The little frog did not usually mind being wet, but as sad as he was, the rain only served to make him more upset. Before too long, the rain had started to fill the bucket, and the little frog was standing up to his tiny froggy ankles in chilly water. "Maybe the rain will stop soon," he thought. "Or maybe it will be just like this forever." He made a sad little ribbit noise and wiggled his toes in the water. And that's when he heard the familiar voice of his friend Daisy, a bright golden dragonfly, as she landed on the edge of the red bucket. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I'm trapped here," said the little frog. "I'm too weak to get out." And then he started to cry again. There, Daisy said. "You might not be able to jump out, but surely there is another way out of this situation." "There isn't," wailed the little frog, as the rain began to fall harder, pouring down in sheets. Daisy fluttered her wings, shaking the silvery droplets of water off. "There certainly is a way out," she said. "See, the pail is filling with water, and soon you'll be able to swim your way out." The little frog looked around. Daisy was right. The bucket was half full of rainwater, and the little frog was already floating up toward the edge. He wiped away the tears and smiled. "You're right, Daisy," he said. "I may not be able to jump, but I'm a great swimmer." And before too long, the rain had filled the bucket so full that the little frog was able to scoot over the edge, sliding into the warm pond with a little plonk. He swam as fast as he could away from the bucket, even prouder and happier than he'd been after the first big jump. I did it, he cried. And from the edge of the pond, the little frog's mum and dad and brothers and sisters cheered and clapped. Even though he was little, the frog had found a way to solve the problem, with a little help from his friend Daisy. And with that, the frog family returned to their lily pad house, where Mother Frog tucked all the children into their soft little beds. And the little frog slept very well that night, safe and sound, and he dreamt of the adventures yet to come. The end.